Have you ever woken up one day and felt like the child you poured your heart into, sacrificing sleep, time, and money for barely hears you anymore? It's like a punch to the gut. One moment you're their go-to person, the one with all the answers. The next, your advice is shrugged off. Your stories met with eye rolls or worse. They talk to you like you're a burden instead of a treasure. If you've spent years driving them to soccer practice, paying for college, or just being there through every heartbreak and triumph, this shift can sting deeply. Suddenly, the dynamic between you and your kids feels off, and you're left wondering, what happened? Maybe they dismiss your suggestions, interrupt you mid-sentence, or treat you like an afterthought. It's painful, and it's easy to feel angry or hurt. But here's the truth, getting mad won't fix it. In fact, it can make things worse, driving a wedge between you that grows with every argument. Yelling or guilt-tripping might feel good in the moment, but it rarely brings the respect you're craving. Instead, you need a calm, clear plan, one that lets you hold on to your dignity without pushing your kids away or saying things you'll regret. After all, your years of love and sacrifice deserve to be honored, not resented. You've earned that respect, whether it was the late nights soothing their fears, the countless dollars spent on their goals, or the emotional energy you gave to keep them steady. If you're noticing your kids no longer value your voice, it's time to reset the relationship. They might be busy with their own lives, careers or families, and in the chaos, they could unintentionally be sidelining you. That doesn't mean you have to accept neglect or disrespect. There are smarter ways to earn their respect than nagging or arguing, ways that focus on your own self-worth, clear communication, and emotional strength. When you set firm boundaries, show you value yourself, and live a life that's full and meaningful, your kids start to see you differently. They remember the parent they once looked up to, the one whose guidance shaped them. In this video, I'm sharing 6 practical strategies you can start using today to rebuild that respect and strengthen your bond with your adult children. These steps will help you create a healthier, more balanced relationship where your voice matters, your contributions are appreciated, and your needs are seen. Some of these ideas might feel bold or even a little uncomfortable. But trust me, stick with me until the end. By using these strategies, you'll reclaim your place as a respected, valued parent, not someone pushed to the sidelines. So if you're ready to restore your role in your family and build a stronger, more loving connection, keep watching. Everything you're hoping for might be just a few small changes away. Picture this. You've spent a lifetime putting your kids first, canceling your own plans to drive them to last-minute events, saying yes to their requests even when you were exhausted, and always being there no matter what. For a while, it felt like the glue that held your family together. But here's the catch. Respect doesn't come from endless sacrifice. It grows when you show that your time, feelings, and well-being matter just as much as theirs. I once met a woman named Susan, a vibrant retiree who was the heart of her family. She volunteered at her kids' school, organized neighborhood potlucks, and was a rock for everyone. But by her late 50s, something shifted. Her adult kids started making decisions without her input, picking holiday plans, dismissing her advice, even talking over her at family dinners. At first, Susan stayed quiet, thinking that keeping the peace meant going along with it. But the more she silenced herself, the more her kids treated her like background noise. She felt invisible in her own family. Susan's wake-up call came when she realized she'd lost the confident, spirited woman she used to be. Her kids hadn't changed overnight. It was years of her putting their needs above her own, ignoring their dismissive comments and avoiding conflict. She thought she was showing love, but in reality, she was teaching them her voice didn't matter. The first step to fixing this wasn't yelling or listing her sacrifices. It was standing up for herself, even when it felt risky. She started speaking up, setting boundaries, and valuing her own time. When her kids saw she respected herself, they began to respect her too. The lesson: you don't earn respect by chasing approval or proving how much you've done. You earn it by showing your worth, calmly, confidently, and consistently. Let me tell you about Tom, a retired firefighter who could command a room with his quiet strength. At work, everyone listened to him. But at home, his grown kids brushed him off, laughing at his suggestions or ignoring his concerns. Tom did what many of us might, he argued. He reminded them of the years he worked overtime to pay for their college, the vacations he planned, the life he built for them. But the louder he got, the more his kids pulled away. Then Tom tried something different. He brought the same steady presence he'd used at work to his family. Instead of arguing, he listened when his kids spoke. When he had something to say, he said it calmly, without forcing them to agree. And when tensions rose, he let silence do the talking instead of escalating. Over time, his kids noticed. Without a single fight, they started seeing the strength that made him a hero to so many others. Tom's quiet confidence did what shouting never could. It earned their respect. I knew someone else, Carla, who saw the same shift in her family. The less she fought to be heard, the more her kids valued her words. Respect isn't about winning arguments. It's about showing your worth, day after day, even when it's hard. Here's the tough truth. Your kids aren't responsible for your happiness. You love them fiercely, and of course you want their love and respect in return. But when they sense you're leaning on them to feel valued, the balance of your relationship shifts. What feels like a loving bond to you can start to feel like a weight to them. They might pull back not because they don't care, but because constant neediness can strain even the strongest ties. I met a woman named Diane who lived for her kids. She paid for their weddings, babysat her grandkids at a moment's notice, and called them daily to check in. But as her kids got busier, she found herself waiting for calls that rarely came. Feeling lonely, she'd call them more, dropping hints about how much she missed them. Instead of bringing them closer, it pushed them away. Her calls felt like obligations, not connections. One day, Diane decided to change. She signed up for a pottery class, something she'd always wanted to try. She started meeting friends for lunch and volunteering at a local animal shelter. She stopped hovering over her phone or scrolling social media for updates on her kids. The shift was subtle but powerful. Free from the pressure of her constant attention, her kids started calling more. They loved hearing about her new hobbies and seeing her so energized. By finding her own joy, Diane earned the respect she'd been missing. The takeaway: when you build a life full of purpose, hobbies, friendships, passions, you show your kids you're more than just mom or dad. You become someone they admire, not someone they feel obligated to check in on. But independence alone isn't enough. Respect also comes from clear boundaries. Many parents think tolerating disrespect keeps the peace, but it actually teaches your kids it's okay to cross your lines. Take Richard, a former engineer who ran a tight ship at work. At home, though, he let his kids interrupt him, dismiss his ideas, or snap at him without consequence. He thought he was being patient, but he was losing their respect. Richard decided to set rules, just like he did at work. He calmly told his kids, "I'm happy to talk, but we don't interrupt each other." If they crossed the line, he'd pause the conversation and say, "Let's try this again when we're both ready to listen." At first, his kids pushed back, calling him too serious, but Richard stayed firm. When they saw he meant it, they adjusted. Their talks became calmer, more respectful, and even closer. I saw the same with Maria, a retired librarian who felt ignored by her son. When she started saying, "I'll share my thoughts when you're ready to hear them," and followed through by stepping back when he was dismissive, he began to listen. Boundaries don't push people away. They show you value yourself, and that earns respect. Here's another key. Unconditional love doesn't mean unconditional giving. Constantly bailing your kids out, whether it's money, time, or emotional support, can turn gratitude into entitlement. Take Mark, a dad who never said no. He paid for his kids' cars, rearranged his schedule for their needs, and was always there, no questions asked. But instead of thanks, he got complaints. They wanted more, faster, with less hassle. When Mark finally needed help, his kids were nowhere to be found. Mark changed his approach. He only helped when asked and set clear terms that respected his own needs. His kids were shocked at first, some even upset. But over time, they started valuing his help more. Polite requests replaced demands, and genuine thank yous replaced silence. By setting limits, Mark didn't just teach them gratitude, he built a stronger, more respectful bond. Finally, respect comes from living a full life outside your kids' world. When your happiness depends on their attention, they start seeing you as someone who exists for them, not as a person with your own dreams. Think of Joan, a widow in her 70s who revolved around her kids after her husband died. She called them constantly, offered advice they didn't want, and waited for visits that rarely happened. Her kids, feeling smothered, pulled back. Then Joan made a choice. She joined a hiking group, started painting, and volunteered at a local food bank. As she rediscovered her spark, her kids noticed. They called to hear about her trips, admired her artwork, and invited her over to share her stories. By living for herself, Joan became someone her kids respected, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. As we wrap up, here's something to hold on to. Respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. If your kids aren't valuing you the way you deserve, it's easy to feel hurt or angry. You might want to remind them of everything you've done or fight to be heard. But that rarely works. Instead, focus on how you carry yourself. Stop chasing their approval, validate yourself. Set clear boundaries and show them your worth through your actions, not arguments. Most importantly, build a life that lights you up, one that doesn't depend on their attention. Think of Diane, who went from waiting by the phone to thriving in her own world. Her kids didn't just respect her more, they admired her. Ask yourself, do my kids see me as someone with a vibrant, fulfilling life, or as someone whose happiness hinges on them? When you show them you're whole on your own, they'll see you as the incredible person you are. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear from you. What's one step you'll take today to inspire the respect you deserve? Drop it in the comments and share your story. If this video resonated, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss more tips to empower your life. Your support keeps us going, and together, we're building a community of strong, respected parents. Remember, you don't have to chase respect. Live with purpose and it'll find you. Thanks again.